In 2017, my first novel, Nocturne in Ashes, was released. Shortly after I began writing Nocturne in Ashes, I realized I had too many characters with something to say. I felt bad cutting their stories out, but leaving them in would have overburdened the book and taken focus off of Riley's story. After I finished writing Nocturne, Steadman continued to speak to me, whispering his story into my ear at night when I was trying to sleep, or during a conversation with someone when I should have been paying more attention. He demanded to be heard. This book is the result. Both Nocturne and Steadman's Blind can be read as a standalone, but the two stories intertwine in some spots, and if you've read one of them, I think you'll enjoy watching the crossover unfold when you read the sister book. There's always more to every story than you'll find in the pages of a book. If you've already read the suspense-packed Nocturne in Ashes, you know that it took Chief Deputy Steadman and his partner, Detective Frost, 3 days to reach the scene of the crime. When you read Steadman's Blind, you'll know why. Welcome to the land of Steadman's Blind. The book is set in a fictional version of Mason County, Washington, across the Puget Sound from Seattle and west of Mount Rainier. Gorgeous and majestic, Mount Rainier rises above the landscape, the brightest jewel in western Washington's crown. Beneath her slopes, communities thrive. People sleep through the night, get up, and go to work. Families argue, play, walk the dog, and love each other. Life stretches out as if each day that follows will be like the one before. But the benevolent appearance of the mountain masks a deadly and volatile might. And the day to come will be the deadliest in American history, ending lives, changing lives, reminding people how precious life is, and how precarious. As much trauma as it will bring, Rainier's eruption isn't the only disaster facing Chief Deputy Randall Steadman. Not by a long shot. Extortion, assault, and a triple homicide mark just the beginning of a long and rugged road for Steadman and his new and untried partner, Detective Frost. You'll have to wait for the book to read all about it, but let's explore some of the territory Steadman and Frost will have to cover in their pursuit of justice. An ill-conceived sting operation brings Steadman to this casino, where he learns the hard way that his skills at reading people in the interrogation room lose something in translation at the poker table. Here's a snippet from the scene. Steadman watched as the dealer swept his little pile of poker chips into the pot, each one representing a little piece of lost hope as he endured round after round of bad calls and worse timing. He thought he'd learned something during those 2 weeks under Rafferty's tutelage, but classroom instruction didn't always hold up against the battering ram of real-world experience. Nausea rose within him. The strident dings and trills of 100 slot machines with their flashing lights and occasional rush of coins did nothing to help settle his stomach. He tried to block out the permeating stink from filth-encrusted ashtrays and the mingling smoke of a dozen brands of cigarettes tinged by cheap cigars and the unmistakable scent of marijuana. Staring again at the dwindling pool of chips that held the last of his sister's worldly wealth, he felt the weight of failure crushing him down. 6 stacks of chips he'd thrown into that drain, and Hank's life depended on getting them back tenfold. That wasn't happening. Later, after Rainier blows her top and sends a tidal wave of mud crashing into the Sound, Steadman and Frost must navigate this waterway in a boat to reach the scene of a murder. Imagine the water clogged with shifting debris, and you'll have a fair idea of what they had to deal with, as you'll see from this snippet. Steadman steered to the left, and the waterway widened, opening out into the juncture where several inlets met. The water here was more turbulent, and he felt the boat buck beneath him, smacking down on something solid. He winced, hoping the hull would maintain its integrity through what loomed ahead. Daylight leached away into the leaden sky, but there was enough of it remaining for Steadman to see the masses of ruined lumber tossing in the shifting waves, dotted with all manner of detritus. A car door floated by, snagged by the branches of a dead tree. Off the port bow, a sodden parka bobbed on a raft of splintered logs, a long gash exposing the down feather innards as they leaked into the thrashing water. Steadman hoped its owner had not suffered a similar fate. I'm not going to ruin the story by telling you why, or what led up to it, but later in the book, Steadman finds himself on a forest trail. This is the same territory Riley and Nate covered in Nocturne in Ashes. In Nocturne, a couple is attacked and a man killed right on this path. Like Riley, Steadman must leave the easy trail and head up into the ridge above where anything could happen. Here's another snippet for you. Steadman squinted up at the lowering sky. A veil cloaked the forest, composed of ash and fog, cutting visibility and stinging his eyes, making the trek through the thick undergrowth more challenging and dangerous the farther he pressed on. He heard faint noises from the other men in the group, but they were distorted and unreliable as indicators of distance or direction. The mist separated them from one another, culling them apart like a living entity, and a jolt of desolation stabbed through Steadman, making him feel as if he were the last man standing in a deserted world. Brambles tugged at his pant legs, snagging the fabric, scratching at the skin beneath. The smell of damp leaves and moss, slimy and moldering underfoot, rose up from the ground, growing stronger as his boots stirred their layers, releasing spores into the air to mingle with the ash and fog. A wave of unease flooded over him. "Hold up!" he shouted. As I think I mentioned, Steadman and Frost are up against a whole slew of challenges on a long and twisting road. I can't wait for you to read Steadman's Blind, and I hope you'll love meeting Chief Steadman and his partner, the steadfast Detective Frost. There are a couple more characters you'll come across, some you'll hate, and some you'll fall in love with. I hope you're excited to get the book in your hands and start reading. Thank you for purchasing Steadman's Blind. I'm working hard to bring more story into your life. Be sure to visit joslynchase.com for more information, and if you haven't yet joined my readers group, I hope you'll do that now. Look for the sign-up form on my website. Thank you for watching.